Man Preaching Nothing coming to you live, and this first time I've ever done 2 videos in one day, but this was on my mind. And this is more for a wrestling audience, so I understand, if somebody's watching it, not a wrestling fan, definitely have more non-wrestling related ones later, but I had to address this. According to the dirt sheets, WWE is closer than ever to signing Sting. And of course, Sting being the most famous performer in wrestling history to have never worked for Vince McMahon. He was always an NWA man, later a Ted Turner, Atlanta WCW man, and Sting refused to ever work in the WWE. He did an interview where he referenced the fact that when Booker T showed up in the WWF, that The Rock referred to him or said the line, "Who in the blue hell are you?" And, I've always disagreed with Sting citing that. I mean, that didn't ruin Booker T. It led into a very equal feud between the two, and I strongly doubt they would have had anyone say that to Sting. Everybody knows who Sting is. One of the most decorated wrestlers of the last 3 decades, and I know he stayed loyal to I guess a Southern-based promotion, non-McMahon-based, like I say, NWA and WCW roots, WCW based out of Atlanta, and of course, over the last several years, TNA based out of Orlando. But, here's the thing. Sting is obviously nearing the end of his career. He'll be 55 in March, and so, hopefully, he's now seeing that he might as well wrestle a few matches in the E to say he did, get some last matches in front of a big audience, and I think that's great. But every few years this rumor happens, and obviously it's never come to be. 2011 was one of the big years, and the whole 2/21/11 thing, and I've heard mixed reports about how far it ever got with Sting. I don't know if it got, ever got out of the gate or if it's just totally an urban legend, or if maybe there really were potential deals to be made. But obviously it didn't come to be. But, I say that I'd love to see Sting. A couple of matches at least. WrestleMania would be great. Doesn't matter, if he's older, out of shape. Flair's worked tons of matches out of shape. Hogan, it's fine. I don't think he necessarily has to wrestle Taker, which is the big dream match. Taker, he'll be 49, and I'd like to see the streak end, just to prove that Taker's bigger than the streak. I'd like to see maybe a Daniel Bryan end it. But as far as Sting, I'd like to see him work somebody else young. Maybe Sting CM Punk, Sting Cena, and this, I don't know, obviously I'm not in backstage creative meetings with the WWE writing team, so I have no idea what they have planned for people other than, rough ideas from the dirt sheets. So I don't know, what matches out there are possible and what aren't, but I'd like to see Sting do a few. How about Sting Lesnar? That'd be pretty wild. Maybe see Sting and Heyman go back and forth on the microphone. Both of them with roots in the same NWA/WCW late 80s, early 90s. I'd like to see a lot of different things, but, it'll be a surreal moment. On one hand, it might be kind of cool to say there's one huge name that never worked for McMahon, but it's obvious he's received checks in the mail because they release all of his old footage all the time on DVDs. So, I mean, he can't say he's never received money from McMahon. But as far as I'm concerned, I think it'd be great to see him work a few. I think he should work some young guys, probably put him over. When Hogan came back in 2002, he put over a lot of guys. He put over The Rock, put over Angle, put over Taker. Obviously, Taker wasn't young in 2002, but he put him over. So, I don't think Sting necessarily needs to get anything from going over. But put over some younger guys and give us the chance to say Sting wrestled in the WWE. It doesn't have to be anything wildly eccentric or a world championship run or anything violent, but I'd like to see it, and I think most people would. So, Mr. Borden, if you're out there, if you can hear me, I know your son is a football player, and either is playing for or at some point considered University of Kentucky, which I live very close to that area, or at least that state, though I'm not a UK fan necessarily, but as somebody who has that very indirect connection, and always, I didn't necessarily watch Sting growing up because it was about a year after I started watching wrestling that WCW went out, and I've never watched TNA regularly, but as somebody who's, enjoyed playing as Sting on video games and merchandising, I think the wrestling world would like to see it. Might as well collect, some sort of payday for it, have some fun, and be able to say, Mr. Borden worked in the WWE. Thank you, and this is the Man Preaching Nothing.